Okay, so in the last video we talked about thesis statements and some of the things they needed to have, like take a side, don't weaken your argument, and argue, don't describe. So when we look over at the sample essay that we read, this is the sample essay that was about our elderly parents. So it started with the thesis in this would be the last sentence, and it is, therefore, elderly parents should live with their adult children for several reasons. So we want to look back at our list of things that an argument thesis should have. Does it take one side? Does it have statements that weaken the argument? And does it argue or describe? Okay, and so in this case, we see that it does not have anything like my opinion or anything like that. So that means that it's not weakened. It uses the word should. So that means it argues and it doesn't describe. So this is a good thesis. While we're here, we can also check and see what introduction style the writer uses. So, of course, this essay starts with a question. Did you grow up with your grandparents? And then the rest is really an anecdote because it's describing the writer's experience living with his grandmother as a child. So this is also can show you that it's okay in the introduction and even in the body paragraphs of an argument essay, it's still acceptable to use your personal examples as long as they are related. You can also see that in the introduction, you can use the same types of introduction styles that we used in a cause-effect essay. So you could use a question or an anecdote. Those are good ways to introduce your essay. So let's continue looking at some of the other points that we're going to address now, which are about support in an argument essay. So you can see that in an argument essay, one form of support we can definitely use is quotes, statistics, and facts. When we use quotes, statistics, and facts, we always want to cite our sources, like we learned how to do in our last essay. And we always want to explain how our quote, statistic, or fact supports our point. That means after the quote, statistic, or fact, we should either say, this means that, and explain it, or we could say, for example, and make a specific example out of the general idea in the quote. So let's go ahead and look at how that is done in the argument sample essay. In fact, that is done in the third body paragraph, and you can see it here. In this sentence here, okay, it says, in an article on nursing home problems, one medical practice lawyer stated that, and as you may remember, this part is called the signal phrase, because it introduces the quote. Then we have the quote, and then we have the citation, the internal citation that says Elder Abuse 2017. And you could see that there's also at the end, there's a list of all the references used that gives the complete website, the complete title, and the date. So that is awesome. In this example, the following sentence says the children do not have to put their sick and aging parents in those facilities. So when they say those facilities, that refers back to the idea of the nursing homes. So that is a good connection between those 2 points. So in this essay that we're writing now, it is not required that you use an external source. So in essay 3, you do not have to use an external source. If you would like to, you can, but it is not required to use a quote. That means quotes are not the only type of support that you can use. Another type of support that you can use is called logical consequences. Logical consequences mean the short or long-term consequences of an action. What this means is that you need to go step by step through each step in the process in order to build your argument. So, for example, if we start with this idea, colleges require foreign language classes, and we say when colleges require foreign language classes, students will fail out of school and they will have to drop out. The problem with this type of support is that it skipped from number 1 to number 4. It did not explain the intermediate steps in the process that led to this result. So how do you build logical consequences? You have to go step by step through each step in the process. So for example, when colleges require foreign language courses, students have to devote a lot of their time to studying for those courses. Some students are not naturally good at learning a language. This means that they have to spend many hours when they could be studying their major subject instead. As a result, students start to do badly in all of their classes just because they have to focus so much energy on studying a language. As a result, students can even start to fail out of school because of taking foreign language classes. So that's just a reminder that you need to go step by step through any process that you describe, okay? So when we look in our sample essay, let's talk a little bit about how logical consequences are used in this sentence, okay? So when we have a really good example of it, when we compare paragraph A to paragraph B, okay? In paragraph A, hopefully you were able to see that B was better. Most people can see that B is better. Lots of times we just say, oh, it's longer, so it's better. But I know you guys, that's not the only reason it's better, okay? Longer is not always better. So you should be able to see why the sentences that the writer added are better, okay? So here it says, elderly parents can help their children in many ways. The parents moving in can bring some income to the family budget. Is this logical to you? Do you automatically see how older people moving into the home will bring more income? To me, it's not really logical, but in the second one, it's more logical. It says, many elderly people have their own money from retirement or savings. That makes more sense, that they can bring in some income to the family budget, okay? And then we have specific example on it. Then we have another point. This reduces stress on the adult children since they have help with their living expenses. So they even went to step number 4, help their children. When they added this sentence, this reduces stress, that shows how the additional income from the older people helps their children. Okay, the same is really true in the second part of the paragraph. So this is a great example of logical consequences in action. Okay, let's look at another form of support, which is examples or anecdotes. As I mentioned, you can have different examples or anecdotes, including personal stories, but when you finish them, you need to make a general concluding statement. This means you need to explain the point of your example or anecdote and what it means, okay? I'll show you again in the sample essay, okay, what we could see. So in this sample essay, we could see, for example, again, in comparing paragraph A and B in the first body paragraph, it says elderly parents can also help with household duties. Depending on their health condition, they can cook, do some errands, and light housekeeping. We also see this previous sentence, picking up from school, preparing meals, and helping with homework. This is a great example of different examples or anecdotes. It has a lot of really good details, but it is not really concluding and making a great connection back to the topic sentence. That's why B is better. It says the financial and domestic support from elderly parents makes the whole family's life run more smoothly. That is a strong concluding sentence. I think from this concluding sentence, you can see that there are two main supporting ideas in this paragraph. Financial, which is highlighted in the part with first, and domestic or household, which is highlighted in the part with furthermore. Okay, let's look at another type of support. We can use comparison as a support tool in our argument essays. When we use comparison, we want to show the good sides of our own opinion, and we want to show the bad sides of the other view. I'll show you an example here, which is in the second body paragraph here. Okay, so here they're comparing whether older people who live in nursing homes or houses are happier. So here they say, here the first part of the paragraph describes what it's like living in a nursing home. Then we have on the other hand our contrast word, and then we have a comparison to living at home. So that's a great example of showing the good sides of our opinion, which is the second part of the paragraph, and the bad sides of the other view, which is the first part of the paragraph. So this is like in a different order here, but it's actually ending with ours, which is a stronger ending, I think. Okay, the next type that I'm going to make a separate video for is called opposing view. We're going to talk about this in a separate video that I'm going to do about counter argument. But I need to make a few comments about how you should not do your support. So when we are doing support for an argument essay, we don't want to overgeneralize or stereotype. This means we don't want to say something like, all older people are bossy, so they drive their family crazy when they live with them. No, this is overgeneralization or stereotyping. It is not okay to be in an academic essay. I like to tell a story about an English 101 teacher. They are very serious about this overgeneralizing and stereotyping. One time we were reading essays together with the English department professors and ESL professors, and a student had written, all cab drivers smoke, or most cab drivers smoke, or maybe most taxi cab drivers smoke. And I didn't really think that much of it, but the English 101 professor was really upset, and he was like, how do they know that? How do they know that taxi drivers smoke? We can't generalize like that. So that's just, the point of that story is just to tell you that why it's really important to not do that type of overgeneralization. Please don't use religious arguments. Your religion is not up for debate. We don't want to debate or argue your religion, so do not put it in an argument essay. Do not be overly emotional or exaggerate. Sometimes people feel that the consequences of their essay need to be like the world will end or something like that. No, you don't really need to do that, please. Don't do that, okay? So I'm going to show you a couple examples. If we see this, everyone knows that language classes are easy. Don't do that type of support. Whenever you say everyone knows, I will tell you, some people do not know. And when they read your essay, they're like, oh, everyone knows that? I don't think so. They automatically stop reading. Here's another type of support we don't want to do. All students are lazy, so they want the easiest classes. Hey, that is so offensive. You guys are not lazy. You guys are very hardworking. That is rude and alienates people when they're reading your essay. This is an example of an exaggerated sentence. When people stop learning languages, society is eroding and civilization will end. We don't need to go that far in our essay. You don't have to prove that the world will end if you don't win your argument. You need to prove that there will be something negative, but it does not have to be a dramatic ending. Okay? So I hope this helps you be able to provide excellent support in your argument essay, and I will be coming back to talk a little bit more about the counter argument, which is a really useful way to support your essay. Thanks, guys.